Hi, welcome to my last video for the Starship shooter game. So for right now, show you what we got. Go on to the menus here. So we have our title menu, which now has a quit function. This is going to be running off this application quit. So when we go back into continue, we can lower down the music so you guys can hopefully hear me a little better. We have our options screen, which is able to come back to the title screen. We have our credits. Our credits is going to show the music by Aqua Crab, images that I got from Miro Store Studios, and Kenny Sprites. Programmers for the font was Tiny Worlds, and I'm the programmer for the actual game code. When we come in and press play, we can see now that we can warp around using the min-x, max-x that I'll explain later. We now have large asteroids, small asteroids. We have a UFO that tries to follow you. They all have health bars, referenced by the little circle icons. They're really good. Really hard to kill them. My little health things that no longer matter. So everything's doing an insta-kill on here. So if it touches me, I'll lose my lives. Oh, I can't shoot that guy. I'm trying to get to the victory screen here if I can defeat everybody. And so for victory screen, since I got them both right at the end, it'll populate this one. This quit game still runs off that quit application. And then we can come back here to the title menu. We can still see that their stuff still spawned in, but if we wanted to play another game, we can see that we're now resetting. Everything comes back. We got 0 health, 2 lives, and if we die, we hit our game over screen with our sound in the background, kind of similar to the victory screen, just a different background. As we can see in our game manager scripts, what's a lot of the things that are happening. So these are our screen states. This is any of the TMP Text Mesh Pro assets we're using. We initially set our lives to 0 and our score to 0 and our lives to 3. They have a player health image that we'll be able to track. I have a health bar on the starship, but it doesn't matter because they're insta-kills, but the enemies have little circles that spawn in, and when you shoot them, they'll deplete. It's we use a player prefab spawn point, so the spawn point's where the player will spawn in at the world origin, and we have a player prefab, which is the starship. It uses the camera follow, and we have min-x, max-x values that we can see down here. That was for a border that I was using earlier. This is going to be for that warp, so the min-x, max-x, min-y, max-y will allow us to teleport from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen. We have our sound effects that play that we can control in the inspector window of the game manager. We have volume settings with ranges from 0 to 1 using decibels. We have the asteroid spawner. With asteroid spawner is just referencing something for later on this one. We actually have an asteroid spawner script. The asteroid spawner script is what's spawning all of them. The large, medium, and small ones come off this vector, and I don't know why, but when they spawn, they come in all smushed like how you've seen on the gameplay. But these ranges are what are going to give us either UFOs or those large asteroids that spawn medium or small asteroids. They have this roll chance for the large, medium, small, or UFOs. And what they do is they, where is it? Right here, this cancel invoke and invoke repeating. So on void start, it'll start spawning. If they reach the total asteroids to spawn number, which right now we have set to 9 on the inspector, but in the code it's 10. It's just there's too many when there's 10. Well, once it reaches the total, it'll stop calling this tag and stop spawning the spawn asteroids, which it's a little misleading. It spawns the UFOs as well. And then so this is where we're actually rolling for those chances. And we are using a pawn and controller setup. So this is going to be the controller. This is looking for input keys. So in local space, we have WASD. In world space, we have the arrow keys and a T key for random teleport. Get key down. Every time you press the key, it'll teleport, but you can't hold it. Get key down. This is a continual key press, so as long as you hold it, it'll keep following what you're telling it to do. The pawn, what it's doing is it's getting that information and using abstraction. So it doesn't need to know how to do it. It just needs to know what keys it's actually telling it to push, and then it gives it based off of the speed. So on a random teleport, here we're telling it the min X, max X ranges, but when we're actually looking for the move, it's just getting the key code down. And then here we added in our turbo scripts, so that's what's able to, when you press shift, you can move the spaceship faster. We use time delta time because we don't want to use our internet speed. We wanted to use the frame rate that Unity's refreshing as fast as possible. And so that's what time delta time do. Anytime you see this key, is what it's doing is these movements and rotations, we don't want them to be glitching or faster or slower on internet speed. They just go off the frame rate of Unity. And when we look at our asteroid spawner, we can see that there's a set to 10. This is asteroids to spawn. Once it reaches that, it'll stop spawning them. But we wanted to see if we can get a random number of the ones to spawn out. And so that's where we're going for those rolls, right? So we want to see if it's rolling for a UFO chance or if it's going to roll for a random range on the asteroid roll. And then it'll start populating those just random occurrences. It can be a large asteroid or a small asteroid. We can see here that the asteroids move in our vector 2. Our game manager uses its singleton still, so when I scroll up, we can find that our game, yeah, okay. We can find that here in Void Awake. What we're doing for is we're looking for the instance of the game manager. If it's not equal to null, so if it's actually there, it'll destroy the game object of the game manager and return with no error. It'll instance a new version of the game manager, and it makes sure it doesn't die. So during this is a singleton pattern to make sure that we're not repeating our counts, repeating our scores, or repeating our lives lost or gained during gameplay. And then for the 4 principles of object-oriented programming, here we use encapsulation to make sure that all of our health and taking damage gets contained in one single script. So we can see here that on void start, we get max health. We have the death component that we find from the death log, where I don't have it up here right now. We also get take damage, so we understand what's happening when we're taking damage. We actually get minus damage on ours. They're set to insta kill, so if I took insta kill off, I would actually be receiving damage based off of the input variable of 10 that we had associated earlier on player. What was it? Damage on hit, or damage on hit script. But right now we have it on insta kill. But if it was we were doing take damage, this is where we can instance taking damage on our thing. We have healing, so when we have the take damage at minus 10, healing gave us 10 extra health. We can see here what we're doing is we're making sure that we need health before we just pick up the health pack. It has a health clamp, so it can't go above or below a certain number. We get the updates to the UI, so it actually changes the health bar. Right now the enemies are using this health script, so that's how they're able to understand that they're taking damage when I shoot them. We reset health. Basically what's happening here is when you press new game, it resets the health bar. Again, we're using insta kill, so the only people who's getting their health reset is the enemies, bunch of cheaters. And then we have our die function, so we can actually see what's happening here. And this is all encompassing for object-oriented programming. We can use inheritance, because we can see here we have death destroy that inherits from the death script. And here we have death, we have death destroy, we have player death. So each one of these are deriving from that, so they're inheriting from the property of death. So, and they're all using it in different ways. Like for death destroy, they're just destroying the game object. When player dies, it's making sure that the instance of lose life is still getting obligated on the override for the destroying the game object. So that was a different version. We also have target death that derives from death destroy that derives from death. So this is another version of inheritance. It's getting play clip at point. So this is one that's also setting the asteroid splitter and make sure that it actually splits it up when they die for the large asteroid. It's removing the instance, so removing the obstacle, making sure it calculates in the game manager, and then it's adding a score of 100 when you destroy them. So this is another version of the inheritance. All this kind of references back to polymorphism. So even though die is getting called, we can see that it's calling off of death destroy. We can see that that's calling from death targets. We can see that's calling from death. So they're all inheriting, and they're all use different versions of the override of the abstract class, so they can be polymorphism. An abstract class is anything that can be associated within any script that I make. All I have to do is call out either death, and then instead of abstract here, I can put override and then call a new function under that, and that's how they can use different versions of the code. And all that's to say, this is the game. Now it's all self-encompassing. Everything can be held within itself. It doesn't need anything outside of it. Once you press play, you can stay in the game as long as you want. Keep playing as many times until you can get the win state. And I'm telling you, it's 9 is even kind of hard. You can see that up, down, left, right still works. T key works. And I'm telling you, with all these guys coming in here, it gets a little hard. You can see that our warp function works, coming on both sides, and running into another enemy, losing all of our lives. But how's the game so far? Come back to the title menu if we wanted to. We can go quit, which exits the application. I'll go and play again. You can see everything resets. Thank you very much.